ready to build resiliency, create a healthy lifestyle, and overcome adversity with a warrior mindset. This is Define the Fight with Mariah Prussia.
Hey, welcome on this fine Monday morning to Define the Fight. We look at different things in life and we have to recognize this. Hey, where can we learn? Where can we grow? And the reality is, I've got an individual who has grown so much in life. And you know what? I think sometimes he grows even more when he is in competition state. We are looking at Jason Ellard. He is the co-owner of Dakota Barbell and also the founder of the Winter Classic Expo. And I've known Jason for quite a few years, including his family. And it never seems to amaze me on the areas that he wants to take his life to the next level and how he creates a vision and wants it to grow. So, Jason, welcome to the show. We've never been on the radio together.
Well, thank you, Mariah. Appreciate being on here on Define the Fight. Yeah, thank you for those kind words. I was almost kind of wanting to look over my shoulder. Who the hell you're talking about? But no, it's been great. And thank you for having me here today.
Yeah, absolutely. We look at the health and wellness industry. We look at strength and how you develop strength. I want to know first and foremost for you, you have done a lot of powerlifting competitions, but where did everything stem from for you when it's, look at your health journey? What does that look like?
I started lifting back when I was a freshman in high school, and really just the proverbial 98-pound weakling. Was actually bullied through middle school and was always just frustrated with my size, and just started lifting because I just was kind of tired of that. Turns out I had a natural strength to it. My dad was a bricklayer, so I was always helping him with that, so I had this natural strength. And my first year in the gym that summer, I was already squatting, I think I almost squatted 3 plates as a freshman. Wow. So, yeah, and I just found it just came natural to me, and I fell in love with it, and it helped me really mentally and physically and socially. Helped me out on the football field, and to the point of where the gym almost became more than the actual sports that I was doing. The football, some basketball, but I retired early. And if you can believe it, I played tennis in high school. Not many people know that.
Jason, for the individuals who are listening right now, let's just break down your size, like your height and your weight right now.
Well, on my driver's license, I'm officially 6'1", but I'm about 6 foot. I'm about 290 right now for my weight. When I get in my comp, I'll probably even push 3 bills. My best numbers to date are an 1124 squat, 600-pound bench, and an 837 deadlift.
That's a lot of people that you're lifting right there. So it's amazing, though, when we look back on the why. Yeah. Defining the why and why an individual takes the journey that they did. I had no idea that when you were younger that you were bullied, and it was like that seed turned into something so much bigger.
Yeah, there's that aspect of bullying. It's one of those things is how it defines you, and what sets what's going to be for the rest of your life. You're going to crawl under and you're going to kind of retreat within yourself. Or you're going to say, hey, this happened to me, and okay, I accept it, but now how do I become better? And that's kind of where I looked at the galvanizing point on there with the lifting. And a lot of times it just helped out my confidence. I looked better, felt better, could move easier on the football field. I played lineman in high school, and for things that people would say, that guy is really tough. And I was just like, I don't know, I just put my feet down and I moved them and I chopped my feet and I moved them wherever I wanted. And I just found that benefit coming out of the weight room. And it does give you that perspective investment. That's one thing I've loved about the weights is that in health, you are a constant daily struggle, battle, or define the fight if you want to use your acronym, or not acronym, your slogan. But you can really make defining what you want out of just being in the gym day in and day out. What do you want to get out of it?
Where life is like clay. Right? We can choose how we want to mold it. Sometimes we have to shift the clay a little bit, depending on what occurrence happens, right? Because there's always going to be a life ambush. There's always going to be a situation. And I think if we keep that in our mind, there might be a death in the family. There might be an injury. There might be different things that occur. And it is part of life. But without those different adversities that come into play, when are we actually truly challenged? Not just from a physical perspective, but from an emotional and a mental piece, because that's the hardest part. So when you look at competing, is it the physical or is it the mental for you that you find the challenge? I mean, really, look at that.
Yeah, I totally. I mean, it's more mental than physical. Even if you suffer an injury, and I've had my fair share of them, of what happens with that. How do you put on that road to recovery? But then even when your body has recovered, can you mentally overcome that? And that's even the next challenge.
So for injury-wise, what are some of the different injuries that you've had? And were they during an actual competition, or was it the lead up the training too?
Yeah, I've been very fortunate in terms of maintaining my body. And as I've gotten older, I'm 47 now. I'm probably the oldest competitor that has competed in some of the world competitions I have by about a couple years. So being that focusing on injury prevention and stability and core strength, probably the most severe injury that I've ever had is I did tear a quad in a squat competition, or in a powerlifting meet. But I did get the squat. I was 1052. And as I was going down, I could feel my right quad starting to tear. I could actually hear the muscle starting to shred. And I'm like, okay, I'm popping my quad. I'm tearing my quad. Here it is. I'm going to dump, and as I was to tell all the spotters, hey, take it. I got to the bottom and I was able to stop the weight. And I was like, all right, just shift to the left and then come back up on one leg and get that squat. So if you watch the video on it, I did get the 1052, was successful. But then I immediately collapsed afterwards and then took tokens for the rest of the meet. So,
well, it gets to the point where you're pushing through and you're like, okay, I know this is happening, but hold on, it's that grit. And that's the mindset right there that a lot of people are like, okay, well, I'm going to fold. I'm not telling you to like not lay down if you're tearing your quad. Okay. I just want to make sure do not do this at home. But in life, when a challenge is hitting you and you know that it's difficult, that it's painful, right? Whatever that pain is defined for you. How are you going to persevere? How are you going to navigate, and how are you going to move through this so that you're successful? And I think that's a big thing when you're looking at powerlifting, when you're looking at strongmen, when you're looking at any type of challenge or whatever you're putting in front of yourself or goal, that, okay, I want to make sure I'm setting a goal that pushes me to the point of that red line, but not taking me over the red line.
Yeah. Exactly. That's what the beauty of the strength sports are. That's what the beauty of being in the gym is about. You find your limits. You find ways to push through the adversity. And after coming back from an injury, how do you put all the keys and the tools back in place to say, okay, how do I come back? And not only physically strong, mentally strong. And that's where I've just always been a big champion of strength sports, lifting. And why I'm here today to just, promote what the event is coming up, but how that has helped me so emotionally and socially in my life, and has been good credence for everything that you do outside of the gym too, whether it be in your life, in the business, everything. It gives you that tenacity to keep moving on.
But you're also displaying for your daughters the fact of when you put in the work, you can also reap the rewards.
Exactly.
Because your daughters are how old now?
They're now 15 and 11, 15 and 11. I almost goofed that up.
Hey, you know what? She's going to be 12, so she's probably almost there. What are some of the competitions that you've been in really quick before we go into a break, Jason?
Yeah, so the most recent ones I've done is the World Powerlifting Organization. It's a world level competition. I did my last one in Vegas, and then the one previous to that was in Orlando. They're a part of the Olympia. So the Olympia is the whole concept, kind of what we're doing with the Winter Classic Expo, but you have this great big overarching kind of competition, and then you have powerlifting, strongman, bodybuilding associated with it. So at this one, it's a world level competition, and the one competition 2 years ago, I posted my best total of over 2502. This last one, I didn't have my best show, best meet, still took 8th overall out of 30 competitors that were invited. They're invite only. And I just received my invite for this year, 2025 in York, Pennsylvania.
That's awesome.
Thank you.
I love that. I love that. Because you know what? I'm not going I like to lift weights, but not necessarily to the extreme that you're lifting weights, right? It just goes to show that, everybody has a different beast that they choose. I just happen to like punching people, and you like to lift like 7 people in one rep. But it's okay. We spoke about the fact of the Winter Classic Expo, and I know you guys have done a couple, but I really like to know when somebody builds something, where does the vision come from, and who helped you with this vision? So when we look at the Winter Classic Expo, how did that literally come from a seed and come into fruition?
That's a great question. What we started it with was a strongman show several years ago. One of our gym members, Seth Nutt, he came to this area. He relocated for a position within a local contractor, and he came from the strongman world out of Kentucky, which is a big industry down there. And came to the gym, and we started training together. And he talked about, hey, have you ever thought about running a strongman show? And we've always done powerlifting, but we didn't know anything about strongman. And he told me about it and how to set up the parameters to it, and he's heavily involved with it. But he helped AC and I of like, okay, let's put everything down and develop it. And it turned out, lo and behold, strongman was a heck of a lot of fun to promote and to put on. And it becomes a more aesthetically pleasing event for competitors and also spectators. Powerlifting, I love it to death. It is awesome. And like I talked about, my accomplishments of a four-digit squat. But for the average person walking into the gym, whether you have 4 plates or you have 8 plates or 12 plates on a bar, they just look like that's heavy. But you have no correlation with that. What's really beautiful about strongman is you can see big weights on the platform. You can see somebody's picking up a big yoke, moving straw bales. You make it like functional strength. So individuals that are coming from like the agricultural world, maybe machinists or mechanics or anything like that, because like we've done competitions lifting up dozer teeth or something like that. You can go, oh, okay, now I have a concept of that is actually pretty heavy. That is strong man. That is strong woman. And you make those connections versus where powerlifting is you just max squat, max bench, max deadlift, and it becomes very static strength. Strongman have moving events, and it had a lot of action, and that's where I really gravitated to it. Still love powerlifting, but I was like, okay, we started with the strongman. Let's get ourselves established there. That set that seed, and then over the last couple of years, that grew into my whole idea and this vision of the Winter Classic Expo.
You know, you spoke about strongman. So not a lot of individuals in this area really understand what the strongman competition is. So how is that broken down? So I know you said yoke. I know what a yoke is, but a lot of people don't. So when we look at this upcoming Saturday for the strongman competition, what are some of the events that they're doing, or what are some of the lifts that they're performing during that on Saturday? Sure.
So strongman always has 5 events, 5 medleys, 5 implements that are involved with it. You're going to have some concept. Strongman has the two staples out of it is a pressing event, either whether it be, we're going to be using the log. They started out as like wooden logs, but now they've gone to metal, more fabrication to them, so you can load plates on them. And the log is just pressed off the chest, and they'll start it from the ground on crash pads, actually, so it's elevated a little bit. The lifter will bring it to their waist, curl it up to their chest, and then press it out, and then come back down and press it. So we're doing it pressing for reps. The other staple we're going to have is a deadlift out of strongman. We got a Kratos bar from Serbia Strength, one of our sponsors for the event. It is a 10-foot bar, weighs 65 pounds, and because of its length and its flexibility, it is very common to see lifters pulling 800, 900 pounds with this, even 1,000 pounds at like the top level strongman strength levels. So with this bar, we're hoping to see maybe 100 or 800 pound deadlift here, maybe a 400 to 500 pound deadlift from the women that are competing. The other events that we're going to be doing a sandbag to shoulder and then drop as many max attempt. And then the other events is a heavy farmer's carry, which every farmer can all attest to, just picking up 2 things in your hands and how far can you carry them. And then the super yoke. Super yoke entails it's a really heavy weight, but you don't have to go very far. But some of the super yoke weights for like the super heavyweight men are going to be, I think we're starting at 800 pounds or 850. So.
That's amazing. When you start looking at the different things, and sometimes people are lifting up 5-gallon buckets and they're like, man, these things are heavy. When you start looking at the strongman weight, it's a whole different ball game. But again, they chose to be there also, right? And they're going through the training. Where are some of the competitors coming from let's start with the strongman first, and then also for the powerlifting next? Yeah, so the strongman, we've had a variety from all over the region. We have South Dakota, Minnesota, we have North Dakota, well represented. I think we have some lifters from Nebraska coming in. In our previous competitions, we've had people come from Maine and Alabama and Arizona. For this powerlifting, we have coming from Bismarck, Minnesota, down by the Twin Cities area, and South Dakota. So, awesome. Yep. So now we've got the powerlifting, we've got the strongman. What time does that all start? That'll start at noon.
at the Hilton Garden Inn off of 17th. Gates open at 10:30 for spectators to come in. We're going to have booths there available. Tickets are $25 for 13 and up. For 5 to 12 are 15, and 4 and under are free. And we're going to have booths there, and it's building off all of this expo. So strongman and powerlifting will be starting at noon. You'll have 2 events going on in the ballroom, and then we're going to be working together later on. I don't know if you maybe can are teasing this, but we're going to be adding boxing to this.
We're going to be throwing in punches into the mix of it. So not only is it strongman and powerlifting, but amateur boxing. And, Jake Henriksen has done a great job, too. He's matchmaking behind the scene and has worked with a lot of area boxers. So it's fun to see different things come into play and being able to work with you as well because, seeing your passion and then adding a passion in. What is, your big vision for the Winter Classic Expo?
So when I've competed at the world levels, at the Olympia, and I've also competed at the Arnold, in March here, and we actually have a lifter that's going there. Well, we have a couple lifters going that there. When I go there, they started out with the bodybuilding show. That's really where the Olympia and the Arnold kind of, Arnold Schwarzenegger, that was the genesis for it. But over the years, those sports grew into expos, events that hosted and featured numerous sports that probably couldn't just host an event in the big Columbus Convention Center by themselves. So starting out with bodybuilding, then they added elements of strongman, they added powerlifting, they've added fencing, they've added archery, medieval sword, I guess whatever the fighting, I guess
sword fighting,
fighting.
Yeah.
And when I would see those and walk around on them, I was looking at it like that. This is really cool, and why can't Fargo do something like this? And so that was the grand concept of this Winter Classic Expo. It's always been the Winter Classic up to this point, but now with all these other sports that are being added on, it's that vision that you talked about of having an expo, having multiple events come in. So like USA Boxing and Strongman and Powerlifting. And then when somebody comes in, they can see all these sports in play and experience the whole entity that it is. And then eventually having sponsors a part of it, booths and tables, checking out things that are dedicated to health and fitness and wellness in this community to highlight everything that's out there.
100%. And it's like people don't know what's out there unless they're able to actually see it, right? Mm-hmm. And that's really what it comes down to. I had a conversation with an individual who is a couple years younger than me, and I was speaking about the event. I said, it'd be great if you'd be able to attend. He's like, well, you know what? That would be wonderful. He's like, when is it? And I told him, and he's like, my son is getting more into the power lifting and wants to learn more about it. And he's like, Mariah, I have to be honest with you. I wouldn't mind learning how to box just to have those pieces. Like, well, you know what? Down the road, we could actually get you in to a boxing bout, man. We could get you into the ring if that's something that you want to work towards. So I think, previously talking with Ronnie on air was we set these limitations on ourselves, and there's no reason to set a limit on when you want to start something. The big vision or the goal might look different than when you were 20, than when you're in your 40s or your 50s or your 60s. But I've seen some women that were in their 60s or 70s that were knocking out and lifting heavy weights as well. And I think it's a common myth. If you lift heavy for females, that you're going to get big, you're going to get bulky. Well, the reality is you're going to have to take some type of enhancers down the road to get really large. And it's like, what is the style of lift? And I think it's important for people to recognize that when you lift weights, you are also increasing your bone density. And for females, we're more prone towards osteoporosis and osteopenia. So you may not get into a strongman or woman competition. You might not get into powerlifting, but it's important that you get involved in an active approach towards improving your health.
Exactly. And that's what we want to do at the expo. Is these are just some of the athletes that are wanting to compete on this, and maybe that's not a part of your fitness goals that you want to do, but maybe this is by going to this expo up here in the upper Midwest in Fargo this Saturday is the thing that motivates you and says, you know what, why don't I do that? Or what is that impediment that is stopping me from actually going and doing this? So in a lot of ways, everybody's health journey is going to be different. Everybody's physical journey is going to be different, but a lot of times also all this hard work that goes into the gym, into the weight room, into just getting stronger, it's a building process. And if you don't have a venue, a local area to highlight that, where are you going? I've competed before. Previous to this point, we've got some local promoters in the area that are bringing more and more competitions all the time. It's fantastic. When I started out my powerlifting career, we were going to Omaha, or we were going down to Yankton, or all the way to Montana or Idaho for a competition. Now you almost have your choice, but it always starts out of, hey, just going into the gym. Maybe your goal is going to be from the get-go, you want to be the top powerlifter in the world. A lot of times you just say, you know what, I just want to look good in the swimsuit out in the summertime. But then you start that and you find out, kind of like what I did. Oh, I have some strength. I have some ability on this. And then you just slowly start building off of that.
Well, that's what it comes down to. So if you are looking for a spark, something to ignite that fire, come down to the Hilton Garden Inn on February 1st and look at the different things that are there. And it's nice to have a different form of entertainment. Tell you what, I'm excited for this Saturday coming up hot on February 1st with the Winter Classic Expo at the Hilton Garden Inn. If you don't know about it, you know now. So there's no excuses not to show up. Just a quick reminder now, if you've never experienced a strongman competition or powerlifting, spectators can start coming in around 10:30, 11. Check out all of the great, amazing sponsors, what they have to offer. But then it starts at noon, and then we look at the amateur boxing. We've got young kids, and this is a great thing, is seeing within the community youth coming up, stepping out and literally stepping into what you want to say, the ring of life. And it's great to see individuals work towards something and then be able to perform.
Exactly. And that's the beauty of having athletes, especially it builds up so much, not only charisma, tenacity, making that commitment, understanding what that's going to be and how those life lessons come out of that. In order to get into the ring, get on the stage, get on the platform, it takes effort. It takes commitment to it. And it's only going to just serve you well in all of those life lessons, whether you're an employee, becoming your own entrepreneur, making that commitment, that time frame. I've served on the Workforce Development Committee, and that's one of the things they talk about, like young kids, let's get them into the workforce. And I say, well, hold on. Maybe we actually have them do some sports, being a part of a band or a choir, understanding what that commitment takes, because those are the life lessons that you're going to want. Hey, yeah, having someone young and working for you is always great, but you want them to build off of those character issues. So, yeah, we're really excited about the amateur fighting coming this week.
Well, and speaking of the amateur bouts that are coming up, I've got an individual I've been training who is a teacher, right? So you talk about age is just a number. It literally is, because she's 38 and she's stepping into the ring for the first time ever. So Fargo Public Schools, if you know Michelle Martinez, she's going to be putting the gloves on and stepping into the ring. So it's fun to see like how things are coming together and putting an event, right? Different pieces of the puzzle together. But then when you're actually training and working with somebody behind the scenes, it's nice to be able to see those progressions. And then, that clearly the athlete is excited to perform, but so is the coach to watch them, like, see, how are you going to navigate through this? And I'm just as pumped to see, she happens to be going against Jake's girl.
Oh,
so then
nice.
It's fun.
Yeah.
That's really what it comes down to. When we look at amateur boxing, this is a way for them to get high intensity practice in, right? Because the key thing is amateur is the lead in for individuals if they want to move into becoming professional down the road. Yeah. So, it's good stuff.
Absolutely. And strongman has those classifications too, is whether you're a novice lifter or you're a pro lifter or established lifter. And they have two different weight classes. Well, the weight classes are the same, but the weights are different for novice and open lifters. And the whole point of like that novice weight is to say, it's my first competition. I'm not exactly sure what I'm all doing, but I still want to do this. I want to compete. I want to put myself out there. And you get to experience all of that. So those numbers are lighter to help grow that sport up there. If you do compete at novice and you place in the top 3 in a novice or at that novice level, you do get bumped into open competition from there. But that's the whole idea, is like, hey, you're growing in this sport. You're getting stronger. You're more competitive. Now you're going to get into the next open category. And like we always say when I was coaching football, iron sharpens iron. Only way you get better is you go against better people. For powerlifting, how that'll function is we'll start off with the squat. Each competitor will have 3 attempts in the squat. They have to get a good, successful attempt in a squat to move on to the bench. You get 3 attempts in the bench. If you get one of those successful, you move on to the deadlift. Get on the deadlift, again, three attempts there. And the whole point of like powerlifting is showing off your moxie, showing off your strength, but also you're being judged. We have world certified judges in the APO, the American Powerlifting Organization, with this. And that's always been the nice thing that I like to talk about with powerlifting. When somebody does to make that decision to get on the platform and put themselves out there, everybody always has a gym lift. I've heard plenty of stories of people telling me like, well, I knew this kid back in high school who could bench 315 or he benched 350. And you have to kindly say, no, they didn't.
Right.
Because that's a gym lift.
Form.
It's form, or did someone help them, or were they wooden plates, whatever it may be. But it's kind of that man in the arena mentality of Teddy Roosevelt. You put yourself out there, you put yourself on the platform. You've had 3 people, 3 judges, independent judges that are going to watch your form. Did you hit depth on the squat? Did you get that bench? Did you not bounce the bar off your chest or anything like that? Did you move your feet or anything? When you get to the deadlift, did you make that deadlift fully locked out? So when somebody says, hey, I've actually done those numbers like I talked about earlier, I've done those under competition, I've had world judges judging me, I can proudly say those numbers I've accomplished. And again, it's not dismissing anybody that has a gym lift, but when people tell me about a gym lift or they show me a gym video, cool, awesome. Go do it on the platform. Go do it on the platform when the lights are on, the anticipation there, the intensity is up, and because that's how you're going to get better. That's how you get stronger. And I applaud anybody that is going to put themselves out there.
Well, I think when it comes down to any sport, there's a lot of people that can watch sports, but until they actually try it, I don't think they realize all of the different moving pieces that have to move together to make it happen, right? So, I've had different individuals come in for boxing. They're like, I didn't realize there's so many different things, right? Well, you've got to move your feet. You've got to move your head. You've got to move your hands. Everything has to move together for you to be more fluid instead of choppy. Because anybody can come off a bar stool and think that they're a boxer, when they start wild, hairy Hail Marys, right? They're swinging for the fence. It's like, okay, now you're not playing defense, right? So, but I do have a question for you. In regards to Dakota Barbell, now I want to know more about Edgar's House of Pain. It just intrigues me. I'm like, interesting. Where are we going with this? I just want to make sure that you can state what it is on radio.
Sure. Oh, yeah. No, it's a good story. It's a clean story. So AC and I started Dakota Barbell back in 2007. And really, we started it because we were training at it used to be the old sports center. The new sports center now is the Fargo Public District. But it was an old gym. It was a great gym, but we found the limitations to it. You couldn't have chalk in there. You couldn't listen to the heavy metal music that you wanted to. So him and I, we started in a single car garage, Dakota Barbell. We bought a rack, a bench, and some plates and bars. And it actually really, when you talk about iron sharpening iron, it was a single car garage that wasn't insulated. So in the dead of winter, it was freezing. We'd warm up the bars. We'd have gloves on our hands and then take them off, go pull the weight, and then go put the gloves back on. In the summer times, it was hotter than bejesus. So you'd make sure you're pounding water. You'd step outside, let the cool breeze cool you off a little bit. So after a while, we got to know, I knew him all of my days way back, Dr. Ed May. He's an oral surgeon. And one of the things he saw our vision and he saw that concept. So through a couple other people, I don't want to mess out on Freak Show. He helped us out. Marshall Johnson kind of connected all those pieces in there. But Ed came along and said, I want to get you guys a bigger space. And Ed, through his credit, he needed to develop an LLC. And he was a lover of French bulldogs. And he was talking with his lawyer one night, and he was like, okay, well, what do you want to call this LLC? And he was like, and he looked down at his desk, and he had a French bulldog named Edgar. And he goes, well, Edgar's House of Pain. And that's how that developed on the LLC. And then we adopted it as EHOP. So when you look at our logos, we have Dakota Barbell, which is the bison skull with the cross of the barbells across it. And then Edgar's House of Pain is a French bulldog in a doghouse. And you'd be amazed how many people out of the lifting world love that logo. We thought it'd be tacky and people would laugh us off. And you see some of these big lifters, and when they saw the French bulldog, they fell in love with it. So we kept the EHOP, and that's how we're a part of Dakota Barbell and Edgar's House of Pain.
I think it's amazing on how things develop, and some of the most random stories are usually where the best ideas come into play. How many individuals right now do you have active in Dakota Barbell and Edgar's House of Pain?
We have about 42 members.
And then how many of them are competing on Saturday?
So, well, this one is an all hands on deck with the expo. Yeah, in years past, we've said we could allow a couple lifters of ours to compete. And that was when we were just doing the strongman show. Because we're doing strongman, powerlifting, and boxing, we've kind of made it as like, hey, if you want to help us out at the gym, because we're going to have to clear out the gym to get all the equipment over there, so it's going to be kind of empty. So we have 42 volunteers between Edgar's and some of my family members and AC's family members helping out. But right now we have, I think, 10 active competitors that are looking at either nationals of either U.S. Strongman or the World Powerlifting WPPL competing at the Arnold here at the end of beginning of March.
Wow. So, it's nice what a lot of people like. So when you look at, I'm going to switch gears into regards to like marathons, you have different qualifiers. Right. So different marathons that you want to do. So clearly it's the same in regards to powerlifting that bring you to that next level. So I think looking at all of the sports are very similar except for the event that's actually being performed. You have different tiers, you have different progressions, you have different staples that people want to reach. So if you are looking at starting something new, research it. That's really what it comes down to, is research and then get into action.
Yeah.
Right? Far too often we sit, hope, pray, wish, think all of our goals and our dreams are going to come into play. But if you don't take action, they're never going to happen. Part of me wants to say, hey, welcome back to Define the Fight. But part of me also wants to say, welcome to Edgar's House of Pain. I'm looking at Jason Ellert right next to me. And I tell you what, he's not a small man by all means. So it's like you walk around, you feel like you might be Whitney Houston and he's your bodyguard. So, we'll just flow with that.
Well, and what's funny is as large as I am, I have people at my gym that make me look small. We have one lifter. Well, we used to have two lifters. One is Jack Rose, who is 6'6", and then probably a lot of people remember Jack Plankers, who played at NDSU. He was 6'8". And he brutally strong. I mean, to the level of strength that I've never seen anybody before. Where, they're legendary. Like running in pretty much untied shoes with 800-pound yokes and doing them in a staggered step. Where other lifters who've been in the sport for years are looking at this and going, "Whoa, wow!" I mean, playing around with a 400-pound log. I'll never hope to achieve that. I'd hope to get to a 300-pound log. But, yeah, we've got lifters that have hit 300-pound logs, can hit 500-pound benches in the gym consistently. I do hold the record for the biggest deadlift at conventional deadlift, but we have had some lifters hit the 800 with some silver dollar attachments, we have a record board up on our gym that highlights all the lifters that we've had at Edgar's House of Pain, Dakota Barbell, over the years. And it's an idea or a concept that started with one of the big gyms, Westside Barbell, but you put up the records whether they're raw or equipped, and your name never comes off that gym. Even if you leave the gym, it never comes off that board until it's beaten in a competition level.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yep.
You have to have that internal competition because it pushes you. So if you're the lone wolf or the lone man in the gym, where's the carrot? Where's the fire or the desire to want to do more? So I think it's great that you're surrounded by, clearly a lot of individuals that want to literally raise the bar. Pun intended. Yeah. Pun intended. That's what's always been I loved about the competition, and it's a great quote that I learned very early on. In these competitions, if you're going head to head with the lifter, you're just going to lose. And that's where I've always loved about powerlifting. It's what I gravitated to when I first started holding the iron in my hands back when I was a freshman. It was just me and the bar. I just had to beat the bar. Beat the bar, let the numbers fall where they may, and hitting PRs. And I talked about it. I just didn't have my best competition last year in Vegas. And people have told me, like, hey, well, you didn't have your best competition. You still finished 8th. Aren't you happy with that? Well, there's that intrinsic mentality that I have that I just do not want to accept failure. Right? I'm more mad about my failures than my successes. But it's also one of those things to take a step back. I didn't have a good prep. Didn't hit the numbers that I hit, but I still hit 8th. And those things that you need to kind of take back and go, yeah, you competed,
You got through the competition. You didn't bomb. You didn't get hurt. And be grateful for what that is. But then also still keep that inner fire to channel it in a more positive moment to get you to the next one. So like this next competition, how do I put that all together to improve upon that?
Well, you talk about wins and losses. I remember the very first loss that I had. I was 3-0 for MMA, and then I lost, and I didn't have a good fight camp. I was sick. All these different things. Excuses aside, I was in control of going into the fight. I was in control of the loss. You get what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
But it was hard because the thing is, like you said, you're competing against yourself. But I think too, when you start looking at different sports, you're also looking at, you don't want to let others down. And that was a hard thing for me with my first loss was, okay, I just let everybody down that came to watch me fight.
Mm-hmm.
And I had an individual who came up to me and had said, you know what, Mariah, you would never let us down because most of us would never step in and do what you're doing. So the fact that you are empowering individuals at A, the age that you're going in,
Mm-hmm.
B, the level of determination and grit and resilience that you're demonstrating, this is just a lesson. So, keep moving forward. We look forward to seeing you in the next fight or in the cage again. And it was very eye-opening for me because you never know the level of support that you have of individuals or strangers. And I think that's the key thing is when we show up in life is really owning how we show up. So this is just a personal note to everybody. You take sports aside. You don't know whose life that you're impacting. So with that being said, choose to be positive. Mm-hmm. Choose to face adversity. Choose to dive into like, what do I want to leave in this world, right? What is my legacy that I want to leave behind? Because you never know who is watching and who is looking up to you as a mentor. And I think that's a key thing. And you probably don't know some of the individuals that the lives that you're helping along the way. So, that's my little side note is it's really what it all comes down to.
That's awesome. I don't know if I should say anything more after that. Maybe just shut up and let that bask in that kind of wisdom. No, that's a tenacity and a belief that I have too. People along the way helped me. My strength coaches, 2 strength coaches that I had in high school that helped give this foundation. My parents to bring, channel this in and, continue this on. It's everyone there that has helped you and that you didn't know that helped you or that you're inspiring. I've had some people say, hey, at your age, at 47, we're impressed that you're out there. And I'm like, I'm just trying to hold everything together with Band-Aids and duct tape.
You just slap whatever you need on. But I mean, hey, it's all good. It's all good. But it's key to understand that never stop trying to move forward in life. Mm-hmm. So speaking of moving forward in life, if you need that little, buzz, you need that, kick in the pants, we look forward to seeing you on February 1st. Again, spectators can show up at 10:30. The powerlifting and the strongman starts at noon. Amateur boxing starts at 3. And just so you're aware, the ticket price, which is $25 for adults, $15 for kids. And then when you look at the age break on that is anybody above 13 is $15.
Yes. Yep.
And then
5 to 12 is that $15 range, and then 4 and under are free.
Yep. So that gets you to all of the events, not just one. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So I know that there's a lot of different individuals who have made this happen. I want you to give you the mic here quick, but there's a couple people I want to thank. Randall's Excavating, Lagome Wellness, Venture Chiropractic, and Shalicki Auto Care, right? So I know you have individuals too that you want to make sure you give a mention.
Yeah, and I'm proud. I know I'm going to forget a lot of them, but I mean the sponsors have made this possible. Things like Barefoot Shoes, their shoes are phenomenal. Serbia Strength Systems, Corey's Car Care, Dave's West Fargo Tire, Edge Fitness, Ilego Enterprises, the Building Trades Unions, PKG, Johnson Fitness, Vesco. Southtown Poorhouse and Brutus Brickhouse are 2 restaurants. Highly recommend those after the competition to go check them out. They are family friendly. They are open to anybody, I think, until 9 p.m. for kids. So after you're watching that competition on Saturday, go check out those restaurants. We love them.
You got it. Well, Jason, I want to thank you, for coming on the show today, but then also asking me to jump on board and bring forth a different piece of the puzzle to the Winter Classic Expo.
I love you. Thank you for having us, and thank you for having me, and and we're just starting this adventure out.
Here we go. Well, we'll see you on February 1st at the Hilton Garden Inn. To get tickets, go on to Facebook underneath the events, Winter Classic Expo. Tickets are available for purchase there, and we look forward to seeing you there. Have a great rest of your week. February 1st, define your fight.